Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode on the Wrong Lead Live here. We have a fun little, I don't know, just a cavalcade of races. I mean, I don't know what the heck they were thinking karting it this way. I mean, maybe they saw that there was going to be some short price favorites, and they're trying to get around getting a lot of favorites in these sequences. But we're gonna be jumping around a bit because we're gonna cover these graded stakes races here, and unfortunately, none of them really fit into a sequence. But we'll be talking about all the graded stakes races at Oaklawn Park, and at Gulfstream Park. And first, I'll have to introduce, a man who has a brand new microphone, Mr. Caleb Knight. Brand new microphone, brand new computer. I mean, is there what else you got to replace at the house, Caleb?
Oh, I mean, probably just me, but yeah, we're living a whole new life over here. It was, 79 degrees, sunny. It's a beautiful weather. Fighting off a bit of a cold. Got one of those spring colds coming through, but things have been good. I've been out of town, traveling a lot, so just looking forward to a weekend of catching back up and hanging out. And I got some good racing, but also the way that they carded it is. Yeah, there's no real good sequence per se. So yeah, I mean, maybe one of those cross country bets or cross or coast to coast or something maybe is more interesting. But a lot of good races, just a little bit in isolated pockets. It seems like.
Yeah, and that's actually I was curious too, like what the cross country and the coast to coast were going to look like this week. I tried to take a look yesterday before we kind of planned our stream, but I didn't see anything had been announced yet. I didn't see any PPs or anything, so I wasn't really entirely sure, what to do with that. But you see his face in the top right corner, but we'll get the real thing in. Mr. Mark Capitan. Oh, look at Oof Mark has moved in with Caleb now.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about Oof Mark. How did Oof Mark become a thing with?
Please get him out of my office.
I mean, I was gonna say, you guys weren't at Belmont last year. You could have seen Oof Mark in, live in person.
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, Mark, I feel like we see enough of you, but I miss you, buddy. I haven't seen you. It's been a while since It's been since BC that I've seen you.
Yeah,
it's probably
which was a good time.
Yeah, it was really good time, and I know we talked a little bit about hopefully this year we'll be in Denver, but who knows? Because who knows if anyone's going to be in Denver at that point. So maybe we might be in Houston, or I don't know, maybe a random Airbnb in Topeka, Kansas. Who knows?
We can't do Houston though. That would be a problem.
Oh, that is a problem. Good point. Oh, no wonder no one wants to move to Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I don't know, Mark. What do you think about this? Because we got all these stakes races, and we don't really have a sequence. And I feel like Florida Derby they normally do like a pretty heavy graded stake sequence. So I'm
well, and I think there's like a Mando Gulfstream Park Pick 6 payout or something on Saturday too, isn't there? Or is that Sunday? I heard something about a Mando, but no, it's frustrating how they carded it. I do very much agree with you. Maybe it's just they were worried about short prices. There are a couple of legs that look pretty darn logical. Were they trying to make that late sequence with the Florida Derby being the end cap, a more bettable, more playable, more handicapable sequence? If that was the decision, I don't really hate it. And I think sometimes we, as especially we're putting content out about horse racing, and I think in the world we're in, we always focus on those big graded stakes races, and sometimes there's really good racing that isn't one of those good graded stakes racing. Sometimes low end races it tracks with big competitive fields like this 8th race at Turfway, are races that are actually a better betting product. So it's frustrating that they didn't kind of lump them together and make them like an all stakes pick 5. I think we all like when those happen, but I don't know. It does seem. I think to what you both said, seems odd how they carded it.
Yep, and I see the notorious OTB dash daily horse racing picks in chat there, saying good to see Caleb. Everyone else, meh. So I showed. I typically keep my background blurred because my place looks like you know young 20-year-old girl's like apartment with all the shit tossed everywhere. Caleb knows exactly what I'm talking about. But I wanted to show off the bourbon of the day here. I got a nice little Fort Nelson Reserve barrel strength. I was able to bottle this myself at the Michter's Distillery. Comes in a nice fancy box and a nice bottle there. Got to go this way and like really really cool stuff. A limited release that they do at the distillery, so I was able to get that. And because we're just in an embarrassment of bourbon riches right now, after I finish this, I'm gonna move to something a little bit lighter, which is obviously blends, because I got 2 bottles of that at
Yeah,
Buffalo
yeah,
Trace.
yeah,
So
yeah. There's a little humble brag going on, eh?
yeah. Well, what's funny is I'm probably most excited about the fact that I came back with 3 bottles of regular Buffalo Trace. I had to stop myself because they told you that you could buy up to a case of bottles, right? And any mix and match of bottles. So like if you just buy Buffalo Trace, you could buy 12 of them, right? If you get the allocated bottles and stuff like that, it's a little bit less. But um, I was like, how many bottles of Buffalo Trace did I come back with? Because I have not seen a bottle of Buffalo Trace in probably years. And not that I want to go out of my way for it, but like I don't know. I just like having a bottle of it. It's easy to drink, and like I don't feel bad if I like pour myself a Caleb pour and then like only get through like 2/3 of it, and some of it I have to throw, because it's cheap, right? And you don't feel bad. It's easy to sip, good at making a cocktail and
Yeah,
stuff, and
like it
very
gets a lot of
versatile.
hate and some of it's deserved, but like there's still, in my opinion, there still isn't a better bourbon at like $30 or less, like on the market. Like if you can
Yeah,
find it at MSRP.
and that's the problem, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't. At least by me
It's
here, for some
actually,
reason, I
I
can't
mean, I
find
hate to
it.
say
But
this because I feel like as soon as I said it in Pittsburgh, it disappeared on me. But like it's reasonably easy to find here in Denver. I mean, I can probably
Mhm.
find it over half the time for, less than $30 a bottle.
I do remember when you were in Louisiana, and I was telling you about like when I couldn't find Eagle Rare.
Eagle Rare,
You're
yeah, I
like,
know.
dude,
That's
we
what I
have
meant.
so much of it down here. He's like, I'll send you a couple of bottles. And literally after you said that, you're like, I have not seen a bottle. And
Yep.
like, I don't think you've seen a bottle of Eagle Rare since.
I've seen them here, but they're all marked up.
Yeah, yeah. And it was kind of funny because the way Buffalo Trace works is they have a different bottle released every single day. Sometimes they put 2 bottles out. But it's just of their normal stuff, right? So the rotating is Weller, Special Reserve, Blanton's, E.H. Taylor Small Batch, and Eagle Rare. And so I told my wife, because on Saturday we had a tour. I'm like, look, if it's Weller, we don't have to get there early. I don't care. Right. I mean, Weller Special Reserve. I mean, if it happens to be there, I'll pick up a bottle. But like, I'm just gonna use it as a mixer. Like, I don't really care about Weller. I'm like any of the other ones. I kind of want to make sure I get there in time to that we get a bottle. And so I saw it was Blanton's, and I'm like, I was like, that was probably number 2 on my list, right? I would have much rather Eagle Rare or E.H. Taylor, but it was about an hour drive. So we got there maybe about 2 hours before our tour, maybe a little bit more, maybe 2.5 hours before, and walked the grounds a little bit and went to the gift shop. They have tastings you can do, like a cocktail tasting. So we did some cocktails and shopped and did a bunch of stuff. But dude, the Bland's lasted till like 5 p.m., 4 p.m.
Wow.
They still had it. So I guess it's the getting's good if you can get there. And then unfortunately the next day was E.H. Taylor, which is probably the one I wanted the most, but I wasn't going to drive an hour out of my way just to go get it. I still have a half a bottle downstairs. So I took my 2 bottles of Blanton's. I got my my nice bottles of Michter's barrel strength there. I got more Buffalo Trace than I'll know what to do with for the next couple months. And yeah, it was a fun trip. Mark, you're very pensive over there. What are you
No,
thinking
I'm
about?
good. No.
Okay.
I'm just don't accuse me of thinking. Come on now.
All right, but yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about before we get started here?
Let's get
No?
going.
All right. We're gonna start with Oaklawn Park here. Race 8, the Oaklawn Mile, Grade 3 stakes race here. 2-turn mile at Oaklawn. I believe your morning line favorite is going to be the 8 Saudi Crown at 7-5. You got Banishing at 9-5. The Wine Steward at 4-1, and you got double digits on everybody else. I kind of don't like this race, and there's only one horse I have any interest in playing, and he's kind of a price. So I'll defer to one of you guys. Caleb, where did you land here?
Yeah, this is not a race I really have strong opinions on. The horse that I'm probably the most interested in this race is actually the number 1, the Wine Steward. And I'll admit, I mean, Banishing and Saudi Crown are fine. Banishing ran a nice race last time, although he did get away with some soft fractions and couldn't hold off Alexander Helios, who I don't know exactly what kind of horse he is. And I even had him to win that day, and I'm still not sure if he's that good. There was a 3-horse, blanket finish with First Mission as well in that mix, who I'm on the record as far as how I feel about him. Saudi Crown, I mean, we know what he is, right? He shows up against nobodies, and then he doesn't show up against good horses. So this field probably leans more to nobodies than it does good horses. Maybe he's good enough to do it, but I just can't take him at the likely price, especially because I'm not totally convinced he gets the lead in here. I do think there are some quick horses like Banishing, for example. I'm McDreamy, the 2-horse, almost has to go from that post position as well. There even a horse like Just Deal has shown some speed in some of his starts. So all that to say, I couldn't feel super strongly about either short price in terms of really anchoring onto them, nor just absolutely tossing them. But the Wine Steward's the one who is a pretty clear-cut third choice. I don't think he'll be in the top 2. I don't think he'll be worse than the third choice. And if you throw out the Belmont Stakes, where he got 1.25 miles, which is just way too far, this is a horse that has never missed the exacta. He's got 4 wins and 3 second places. 1 1/8 miles is just probably a little too far for him as well. I mean, he's not a horse that really seems like one that wants to run all day necessarily. And even those losses where he finished in second place. I mean, going back to the Leaders Futurity all the way in Keeneland of 2023.
Did he kill another computer?
I hope it's internet, not his computer.
I hope it's the internet and he didn't break another computer. He's looking all around.
He's looking around. He doesn't know what just happened.
He doesn't know what happened, but he broke something.
Yeah. I hope your stuff's working there, Caleb, because you went robotic, and then all of a sudden we started hearing popping everywhere.
Popping noises.
So I'm thinking it might be your internet because you're like wobbling all around. But all right, he likes the Wine Steward. Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, I think this race is. I think you both kind of summed it up. I think I've never thought much of Saudi Crown. I think Saudi Crown is inherently a horse that just never wins when he's supposed to win. He never even shows up when he's supposed to. Against tougher company. And he wins. And just kind of the easy races. And that's he doesn't have that big win that cements him and kind of makes him a major player for me. And he's going to be just so massively overbet in this race. I landed on the other short price horse, and that's Banishing. I think there's an argument to be made with Banishing that this may not be the trip he wants. He may want a little shorter than this. And I also think that, maybe he's another horse that's a little bit class exposed in here. When he stepped up, he doesn't seem to, fire his A effort or be quite as good. But, I thought that last effort was pretty nice. Pratt's been riding real out of Oaklawn. And I think the other thing that I sort of ended up getting me to Banishing is if you look at the weather forecast, they're expecting rain the next couple of days in Hot Springs. And I think Banishing, can go to the lead or sit, or be one of the co-leaders. if the track comes up wet, he's a horse that should really relish the off going. He probably wins, his only other start, which was at Churchill, on a wet track. If he had a little bit of a better trip and didn't kind of lose it all at the start. So he's a horse that I think handles the off going. I think his run style favors the off going, and I think of the shorter priced horses, he's the one that I'm most interested in betting. I had some other prices in here. I didn't know. I know you had a price, Josh. So why don't we talk your price and then we'll hop back to mine.
Yeah, I'm really only interested in betting one horse in this race, and that's going to be the 5 Dematic. I looked at this race. I think this race is kind of screaming meltdown. And so I kind of want a horse that's going to be coming from off the pace, and I think the Matic kind of fits that bill. Now, obviously, last time in the Razorback, they didn't really do much running, but if you're a believer in time form, this horse does have a figure that fits in just with all of the top runners in here. And I believe it came, was it the Zia Park Derby where there was a bit of pace in there, and he was
Yep.
able to close into it. So I think he might just get a similar setup that he did in that race, and might be able to just get a perfect setup here and run a really, really good race. So I'm probably not going to be playing any sequences that involve this race. I mean, unless there's something in the cross country that includes this race, I haven't looked yet. But there's not going to really be a reason for me to play this. But I think the Matic is the longest price on the board. I think he shows a ton of value in this race, and especially because he's got that figure that I think fits in with the rest of this group.
Yeah, and I think also there's something you said. He's got 2 wins off on an off track. So if this does come up wet, he's clearly a closer type, but he can close, with kickback, and he can, deal with those types of things. So, I think that's definitely, things in his favor. He's going to be a huge price in here. Wouldn't talk you off it. And he's actually a horse that when I was mentioning prices, he's one of the ones that I thought made a ton of sense in here.
Caleb, I picked the closer.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know if you heard anything I said. I was talking for a long time before I realized I was frozen.
What was going on? Was it your internet or what?
The whole PC just locked up.
Oh, interesting.
I've been having issues, like I was mentioned earlier in one of our chats, with my Windows being real buggy. So I'm gonna probably do a clean install.
Okay. Man, you can't buy a break. You got
It's the only old component from my previous computer, literally. But the only old component that I brought over is my SSDs.
Yeah, but Mark, you sent your stuff over to Mark, and it was also bunk.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. I went with Dematic here as my top.
So you
pick.
actually went with Dematic. I just didn't make that up in my head.
No, I went with Dematic. I also it's different, right? If I'm going to be playing a sequence in this race and use other horses, I mean, I don't know. I just kind of hate the 2 short prices. I'd probably end up on the Wine Steward here, kind of with you. Coming off that win. One of the lighter raced horses in this race. I mean, I guess Banishing makes some sense too. But I don't know. I couldn't. I wanted a horse coming from off the pace, and I thought Dematic, right, has got a race that fits in here coming from off the pace, and 20-1. I figured, hey, we'll take a shot here on the win line. If I'm not going to be playing anything horizontally, but you talked about the Wine Steward. What else did you like in here, Caleb?
So I had a similar. Who did Mark go with? I didn't hear his opinion yet.
I was on Banishing.
Banishing. I mean, yeah, Banishing's fine. I would like Banishing a lot more if I knew he wouldn't go to the lead. I don't know what Pratt's going to do, but what a horse I actually thought was a little interesting, and admittedly needs to run a lot faster as a legitimate 10-year-old gelding, but the number 7 Pain, and that's kind of the angle that you're coming in with, Josh, in terms of the closer in the race that seems like it has speed. You could see this getting a little bit spicy up front with Saudi Crown, Just Steel, Banishing, a McDreamy. Even their Wine Steward might be somewhat forward with Jose from the rail. I mean, if it really comes apart, I kind of thought Payne was a horse that's in super sharp form, albeit against weaker company. but rattled off 4 wins in a row. He actually is 3 for 6 at a mile, despite sprinting most of his recent career. 7 for 15 at Oaklawn, and gets a positive barn change here to David Jacobson, who kind of enters 2 in here, which is kind of interesting. Clearly, Banishing is the more well-meant of the 2 runners, but I still thought it was curious that Payne shows up in here, and a horse that would probably need to run something close to a career top as a 10-year-old if others do show up with their A game. But if he might not be the best horse on the day, but just have the best setup if the pace really gets hot up front. So he's one that I thought was a little bit interesting, but for me, I'm mostly with the Wine Steward, maybe a little bit of Banishing, and then a little bit of Payne, maybe.
I see the Wolf. He likes Emmanuel and Payne in here, so he's probably seeing it the same way that we kind of are. That this maybe there's going to be a lot of pace in here, and this melts down. Emmanuel has got what 3-4 total races on dirt. And I don't even have the last time that he ran on the regular stuff here. So, but I mean, you look at the breeding and right, like More Than Ready can basically run on anything. And I think like you were saying, Mark, if there is some cut in the ground and it comes up sloppy, I mean, you have some mud pedigree there in More Than Ready and Hardspun on the bottom. So maybe a little interesting there. I always and I don't know, like. This could just be me, or it could just be the fact that turf horses, a lot of times, if they run on the dirt, end up running in the slop. But I always feel like horses with turf pedigree, if they can run on the dirt, tend to usually run pretty okay on sloppy goings. Like who is it? Is it like Kitten's Joy? Like I think Kitten's Joy only like graded stakes win as a dirt sire or something. I think might be on a sloppy track if I remember correctly, or maybe I'm making that up. But I just remember that there was a couple of other horses with turf sires that would spit out some decent mutters. But yeah, that could definitely be one. CB for you to win. He likes a 12 at Turfway here in the last race. We're at 0 minutes to post. Is anyone live in anything? I know I got my little double here. I'm live to the 1 and the 5, which is basically first and second choice at this point. Mark, you got anything live here?
Nothing live. I'm dead and everything. Played an exact and a trifecta, both box that are 158 here. So
I am shocked that this 5 is 3-1. I mean, I thought he would be 6-5, honestly.
yeah.
I mean, it looks like there's going to be some late money. He's already ticked down to 5-2, so maybe that kind of corrects here a little bit.
What I'm seeing shows the 1 and the 5 going off at about the same odds.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like the 1 and 5 here, and I like the 7 and 8 a little bit as well. But the 12 was also one I looked at. I mean, after the 1 and 5, I thought there was a lot of ways you could go.
Yeah, I got a $5 double here. I mean, the 5 is a little bit better for me. I will honestly take either of them because I feel like Turfway's has been kicking my ass after. I feel like this Turfway meet has been really weird for me because, and Caleb and Mark, you guys both know, right? I feel like every 6 weeks, I'm just posting just a great ticket that paid really decent, and then there's just nothing in between. I mean, yesterday I think I put 200 through the window, and I just whiffed all of it. And just weeks of that, and then oh hey, there's a nice little pick 5 score, and then it's just weeks of that again. So, I was hoping today with the track being the late scratch on the 12. Goodness. I was hoping with the track being speed favoring, I'd be able to get here today, but I don't know. I just missed that too. In that, what leg was that? Race 6, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what I missed there.
I missed it as well. So, yeah.
And honestly, these pick 5s are paying okay.
Okay,
for what came
sequence,
in.
Yeah, it's been fairly chalky.
Yeah, the early paid $7.50 for 50 cents, and it was also. I mean, I missed one horse that was the last one I cut, but I thought it was a fairly easy approachable sequence to have for sure.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing about these cards too, right? Like you could like with these overlaps, you could literally be wrong in one race and just like bounce yourself out of like every single sequence.
Yeah, you lose every ticket.
Are they still walking around here? Yeah, they're
Yeah, it's
taking
gonna
their
be a
time.
minute.
All right, we'll talk a little bit of race 12 here at Oak Lawn Fantasy. 3-year-old fillies here, a little prep for the Oaks. And we got a nice field of 10 here. Your morning line favorite is the 7, Simply Joking at 8-5. Quiet Side at 2-1. Take Charge Milady at 6-1. You get double digits on everybody else. I think this is just one of those races where you kind of got to make a decision on what you're going to do with the short prices. And, you know, Mark, knowing now what I know about the weather, I mean, I think maybe if it does come up sloppy, maybe I think maybe I got to flip to the 7. I mean, I picked the 5 Quiet Side of the two horses, the short prices. I thought Quiet Side was one that has run at the distance, run at the track, and seems to be a horse that's kind of getting better and better. Has got a little bit of a kind of a tracking kind of run style. There, it was up right on the pace last time and was able to open up and win by a length after pressing that pace. And it was a decent pace, 23, 46, and 4. But the 7, Simply Joking, this is going to be the furthest that this horse has run, yet only has the 6 furlong and the 1 mile. I was a little concerned because I thought that there was a pretty big jump between those two starts. And, when I see that and the second start is a sloppy figure, you're like, well, did this one just really, really like the sloppy track and kind of freak on that? But if she's gonna get that same track this time, maybe she's able to kind of continue with that. But yeah, I don't know. I think you kind of got to make a decision between those two. The only other horse I was kind of interested in was the 6, Necessity, who, last time out was kind of one paced, but I don't know. I thought the maiden effort was pretty good. I'm pretty sure Time Form actually really liked that maiden effort as well, and maybe regressed a little bit in the Honeybee. But I thought, if for some reason this race does get kind of fast on the front end, I thought maybe a horse like the 6, Necessity could kind of press that pace and maybe surprise at a little bit of a price, 10-1 on the morning line here. It looks like they're off here at Turfway, and your 8, Mark, went straight to the lead here.
Yep.
And my 5's tracking. And where's his 1 at? Is he all the way in the back? Yes, he is. That one's done. Well, yeah, they went pretty slow.
3 is gonna looks like screw up everything.
No one told us 3. He's 17-1.
Yeah,
Nope.
seriously. Just
They
after
didn't bet the 5. I sort of knew he was probably cooked.
Yeah, will someone tell the 5 he's 5-2?
What happens is chalky all day, and then you get a bomb in the last, right?
Well, 8 might be able to hold off. Here.
8 looks like,
Well,
but
now you got to worry about the 9,
the 9 flying.
the 7. I mean, they're coming,
7,
but
I think
they might run out of track.
Ooh, if this 1 could get up for second, that'd be cool.
Is the 1
It's
in
a
there
7.
somewhere?
No, it's a 7.
Yeah. Oh, is it 7? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The,
Well, 8 held
the
on.
ball's
Nice,
messed up.
Mark.
The track is messed up.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Colors were close. Sorry.
All right. All right. Well, yeah. So I land on the 5 and the 6 in here. AB. Mark, where did you land?
Yeah, I think you said you land on the 5 and the 6. I would take the 7 over either of those two. Simply Joking ran 1:70 last out, so that's halfway between a mile and 1:16. I'm not really worried about this one. Adding the extra 32nd of a mile. coming out of that fairgrounds race. And I like the fact that Last Out was a sloppy effort. So I think that they have this kind of morning line right. I think Simply Joking is the one I'm most interested in. Quiet Side makes some sense. It just doesn't get it. Doesn't seem to win a lot. But that Honeybee was a nice effort Last Out, and I agree with you on Necessity. I think that's kind of a bad morning line. I think that that maiden score 2 back really kind of fits in with this group. And she shouldn't really need to take she seems to kind of improve every single race. Norm kind of has her getting better, over time. So she doesn't have to take a major step forward to be a major player in here. Nothing super creative. I would imagine those are, going to be some of the shorter priced horses in here. I think there's some other prices you could go with. I think this is a race that, in something like a pick 5, I would have quite a bit of coverage in here, because it wouldn't be surprised me if a price gets it done here. But kind of interested to see where Caleb landed, because I wasn't very sharp in this race. So hopefully you were.
My gut tells me that Simply Joking is not legit, but every piece of actual analysis with data, with speed figures, pace figures, optics profiles, form cycle, I mean, everything, there's no way to knock this horse. On any piece of data that I'm really looking at, it's hard for me to say that Simply Joking isn't your most likely winner of this race. She seems like she has a significant pace advantage on the field here. She's done nothing wrong. She's almost proven at the distance, even if I'm still a little bit skeptical of her pedigree, going for the Oaks and beyond. That Silver Bullet Day came back pretty good. Bless the Broken came back to win the Bourbonette at Turfway 2 races later, and Drexel Hill won the Busher next out. So it was a good race. She handles sloppy track. She can close. She can make the lead. I don't trust her, and I don't know why, but I don't. So she's a horse I'm going to use. But there's a few others I have some interest in. Mainly the number 1, Take Charge Milady, who I think you just have to throw out her last race. It's clearly too bad to be real. This is a horse that wants to be involved in the race, and Leparoux failed to do that last time out. So have to love the jockey change here, getting her a more aggressive pilot who can probably get her a little more involved early, especially from the rail in a race that doesn't really have much speed. Keep in mind, she did absolutely dust Quiet Side 2 back when they faced off in the Martha Washington, and Quiet Side came back to win that race and ran a pretty nice race. So I think Take Charge Milady is a horse that you have to give another chance to, because on her day, she has some talent. And the other one who I think is a little more interesting is the number 3, Kinsey Queen. And this is a horse with that textbook dirty form, in my opinion. You got to go back. If it rains, I'm not very interested in Kinsey Queen. I think she's kind of proven she doesn't really like off tracks. But if you throw out the off tracks, throw out the turf race, give her an excuse for a first time start, what's left is about only half her body of work, but it's half that's pretty good. I mean, never missing the board in the half that's left, essentially. And, she's come out with a couple of good races. I mean, she beat the number 2 California Sunset last out, who is a Brad Cox horse who's not interesting in here, but is fine, I suppose. And more interesting than that is that she closed quite stoutly last out in that optional 200 and just missed, despite going into some pretty slow fractions. I mean, trying to close into 24, 49 and 1, and then 115 and 2. I mean, they really slowed that down late. And she was coming on strong, just couldn't quite get there with the slow pace coming from 5 lengths off. Again, the pace may not really set up for her today, so she may be more of an underneath play, but she's one that I'll have somewhere, and maybe she's like a next time kind of horse or more of an underneath horse, but I think you'll get every bit of 10 to 1, if not more. And she's one that I think is a player in here.
Caleb, I do want to correct you. I did not see Star Guitar anywhere in here, so I don't know if it could really be coming on strong. Anything else on this race? No. Mark and I both like a 10 to 1, so that horse is going to be 2 to 1.
Yeah, that's going to be probably your third choice, I would imagine. I think that's a really bad morning line. I think it's Simply Joking ends up being the favorite. Quiet Side, just a touch behind, and then Necessity probably is 4 to 1 range.
I knew I was cooked when Mark liked the horse. All right, Arkansas Derby, race 13 here, big Derby prep, and Caleb, I'll let you go first here because I have absolutely nothing creative to say about this race. So
Well, you already know who I'm not going to use in this race. I will have Cornucopian on corner 0 of my tickets. This horse can win, right? He could be the next Justifier American Pharaoh for all I know. But he's going to get bet like he is. And until he proves it, I'm not taking him. This is a horse that clearly something went a little bit wrong. He's been on the work tab forever and didn't debut until February of his 3-year-old season. And then the oh shit button was hit pressed. We don't really have any way to get Derby points. I have too many horses in Santa Anita to send them in the Santa Anita Derby. So let's send them to Arkansas and just see what we have. Yes, he ran a very fast race at Oaklawn in his maiden score at a very short price. Like, sure, okay. It was going 6 furlongs on a day when speed carried all day at Oaklawn, and he was 3 to 5. So for me, yes, he could be extremely talented. That 6 furlong bullet 2 back just jumps off the page, but I need to see more. And I could look stupid after this. I fully concede that he could go on and win the Triple Crown, but to bet him at odds on in here, which I think he'll be, first time stretching out, and it's not just stretching out a little bit. I mean, he's going 6 furlongs to 9 furlongs. I mean, he's adding 50% of a race compared to what he just did. And, I just can't go there at the likely odds. The figure is great. I'm just saying that he may not translate that at this trip from this post against much better horses. So that's where I'm landing as far as Cornucopian goes. With that being said, there are a couple. If I'm going against Cornucopian, I'm not going to get cute and stupid and beat Cornucopian and not have the winner. I'm going to be spread here. Coal Battle obviously makes sense. Excuse me. This is a really easy horse to root for. Rattled off 4 in a row and has been a decent price in 3 of those 4, basically. He even beat Baffert's Madigat Road last out and did it well in hand. I mean, he had a great trip and a great ride from Juan Vargas, but I don't want to talk too much about him. I think he's a fairly obvious pick in here, but I think there's no reason he won't fire again. The main concern with Coal Battle is, given the fact that he's 90% already in the Derby gate, is really just how cranked up is he for this? I mean, that's got to be the question. Is he doesn't really need to win this race to make the Derby. So what level of effort are we going to see out of him? Another horse I like exiting that common race is Speed King, who I'm surprised that I've sort of landed on, but I don't see a lot of speed in here. Cornucopian, in all likelihood, is speed of speed. Especially with Johnny V up. I really wish Irad was riding, and I would bet against this horse so much more confidently. But with Johnny V up, he likely may secure the lead. But you have to think Rafael Bejarano gives Speed King a chance to win this race, because whatever he did last time was not that. Taking a horse that is extremely one-dimensional, taking him off the pace, he clearly didn't like kickback. He was wide, and he just backed all the way up. But if you go back, 2 back in the Southwest, he ran huge. And then in the Springboard Mile, he also ran pretty good to Coal Battle, and that form is obviously a lot stronger than we initially thought, given the way that Coal Battle has gone on to progress and win the Rebel. So in the event that Speed King can get out and get a jump on Cornucopian, he's a tough horse to run down when he gets the lead. I don't love him in this spot, but, if you look at the last couple of works, I mean, clearly they've tightened the screws. This horse is going to be, in all likelihood, sent. And, I think that he's one that I am interested in having. I know I've been talking for a while, so I will wrap it up with my last pick here, which is number 7. And this one, a bit of a reach, admittedly, because he's more than a cut slower than some of the main contenders in here. But this is a horse that has gone forward in every single start. I mean, looking at the time form speed figures, and that's impressive for a horse with 7 starts to have never gone backwards. And this horse has taken small steps forward in every single start. It's coming off a Z pattern in that Southwest, which ended up being a very productive race. I mean, obviously we saw, Sandman, we saw Tistastic come back to win the Louisiana Derby. There was a couple other horses in there that came out to win. I think American Promise was in there, who came out to win the Virginia Derby. It's been a stronger race than I thought it was at the time. He had some trouble that day. I mean, he kind of lost his momentum a little bit. He got shuffled back. He didn't have room in the stretch. And I think if he takes another step forward and continues to progress the way he has been, he's one that'll be quite possibly the longest price in the field. And I'm going to have him on some tickets. I think he has a legit chance in here. So for me, I'm against Cornucopian. I'm using Coal Battle. I'll have Speed King. I'll have Monet's Magic. And I probably will have Sandman on a ticket, but he's not excited to talk about.
Yeah, Sandman getting a lot of love in the chat here. Nick Sievers
Yeah, the jockey
saying-
change is huge on Sandman, I think. So he will be. I like him, but as a second choice, he's just not fun to talk about.
Yeah, Nick Sievers saying Sandman with Jose Ortiz feels like a good chance of winning. Don't know if there's enough speed, but he seems good. CB for you to win just says enter the Sandman. And then Nick Sievers also says he thinks Speed King is the price play here. So, Mark, where did you land?
Well, Caleb, we got a problem here, and that's the fact that we're both tossing the same Baffer, and we're on the same 3 other horses.
Oh,
So,
God.
congrats, Cornucopian, on winning the Arkansas Derby. I saw the race identical to how Caleb saw. I'm Cole Battle will be a lone A for me. He's 5 for 5 on dirt, won his last 4 in a row. He's currently the coolest story in horse racing. He's just a cool horse. He likes to win, and he's crazy tactical, and he's 2 for 2 over and off tracks. So I think Cole Battle for me, coming off that Rebel win, I obviously Caleb mentioned the question marks. Is he really cranked here? But I don't think they run him here if he's not kind of in it to win it, right? Like, you can skip this race, you have the points, your horse is already a millionaire, and you ship him in and you run on Derby day. Like, if it was just getting the starting gate in the Derby, why even risk it? So I have a feeling he's at least fairly well meant here. And he's just a cool horse. Cornucopian, he's just got to prove it to me. I think there's a million question marks there. He was not supposed to be the Baffer in this race. I think he's sort of the other Baffert that was supposed to be in this race. And I just, he's yet to really prove it on the track. Yeah, he's got a ton of early speed, but all Bafferts do. And I just have to see it. So I'll let him beat me. And then I very much agree with Caleb. I think the morning line on Speed King has got to be bad. If, there's, I think also Nick was mentioning he's a fan of Speed King as well. So there's a few sharp people that like that horse. I would imagine you don't get anywhere near that 15-1. Also, an argument to be made that maybe Speed King is a bit of an every other type as well. This would be that race for him. And then I agree with you on Monet's Magic. It's a bit of a stretch, but that horse has taken a step forward in every single race and is perfect on an off track. So a horse can handle the off going, is going to need a perfect trip and probably a little bit of a setup, but would be a cool one. So saw it identical to Caleb. I waxed on poetically for 5 minutes to say exactly what Caleb said. So sorry about that.
You can talk as long as you want, as long as you're agreeing with me. That's fine.
Yeah, but bad things happen when I agree with you. That's the problem.
Here comes the filthy Baffert stand.
Where did this? Why is this? This is.
He's got to be on Twitch, right?
Here we go. Sorry, I wait. Why is this? Damn it! I'm trying to save an image here, and I'm like failing in all kinds of ways. How about this one? There we go. Okay. Sorry. It's taking way too long to do. I don't really think I need to say anything else.
That Baffert whispering into your ear, I can't believe Cornucopian lost.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just like, I mean, normally Mark is the buyer simp, not me, but I don't know that Craig Milkowski was out there on Twitter the other day saying that that figure is legit. The figure has been backed up by other horses running out of that race. And I mean, a 121 first out on a fast track, not some who was the Pegasus horse that freaked on the mud and like never ran back to that figure in the maiden.
Pegasus horse?
In the Pegasus day, right? He broke its maiden and he was like the fastest horse ever and just like never ran a step after that. Was on a Derby trail. Oh my God, why can I not remember? And I bet that horse like a million times. They tried it on turf once and I bet it. It was real bad. Who am I thinking of, Mark?
No
It was a
clue.
meme. This was a meme horse for
The
the
one that
longest
comes to
time.
mind is Hidden Scroll, but I feel like
Hidden
that's
Scroll. Thank
okay.
you. Hidden Scroll. That's who I'm thinking of. Thank you. Yeah. You know, I don't think this is a Hidden Scroll thing. Honestly, I think the fact that he sent Madacat Road elsewhere tells you what he thinks of this horse. So I don't know, man. I see Johnny V getting up, right? Johnny V on a speed horse. People get out of the way. I think it's just going to be. I mean, it's going to be tough for I think anybody to beat this horse. I I I can't use that horse and then use another horse because I feel like that'll be just ridiculous. But like I said, I honestly don't know what type of sequences I'm gonna be playing using this race, because either he wins at a real short price or he loses and I look like an idiot. So I don't know how much money will actually be bet by me on this horse, but I just think that I think this is gonna be a tough horse to beat. I mean, the figure's been backed up. The horse has been working like a monster. Um, I'm not going to be like David Barista over here who's saying justify 2.0. All right, I'm not going to go that far. But I think he does have a really, really good horse on his hands here, and I think that, um, you know, with the other horses in here, I just think he matches up really well. He's going to be, I think, the speed of the speed, and speed generally pretty good at Oak Lawn. So, especially on these big days. So I think, and I think on top of it, to Mark's point about the weather, I mean, if this does come up muddy, I mean, this is some pretty good mud pedigree with distorted humor on the bottom and into mischief on the top. So, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't get around this horse, so only horse I'm using is an A. Um, you know, I don't know if I have I don't have a Baffert simp alert done yet, but I guess
You need to
maybe
create one. Yeah.
I'll hit
Work on
myself with this one here. Where is it at? I'll hit myself with this one.
Yeah, we really do need one of those.
Yeah.
We'll do a buyer simp alert, even though I don't even know what the buyer figure is, but the Timeform fig looks good. So, yeah, Nick Seaver says single cornucopia, move on. Got it. He says there may be sharp people on him, but I'm not a sharp person. So, you guys got anything else in this race? All right, cool. Let's move on to Gulfstream Park, and we're gonna be jumping around here. Race 4, Gulfstream Park is the Orchid, 1.5 miles on the turf, and honestly, this is why we have Caleb on stream, because when we're going 1.5 miles on the turf, there's no place he'd rather be going 1.5 miles on the turf than at Gulfstream Park.
That's
like a
like
nightmare,
taking
isn't it,
two
Caleb?
things I hate doesn't create something I love. It's not like it's a double negative.
No. You know, I thought this race, I thought the 6 Beach Bomb looks really good. You know, I have the horse as a B because I don't think that, I mean, the horse is going to be bet down pretty short, obviously winning the very one last time out. You know, went wire to wire when this is a horse that has kind of sat off the pace since coming to North America. So, you know, Luis Saez, I think, was able to take advantage of just an absolute glacial pace and go and win that way. Brisnet kind of hated that race. I'm pretty sure Timeform liked it. But I'm going to go a different route here. And I think my top pick's actually be the 1, Silvology here. Dylan Davis getting the board for Shug. Won last time out. And this is kind of maybe sort of half, you know, maybe a Murphy angle, right? Where, you know, I mean, there was a little bit of pace, right? They went 47-1 to the half, but, you know, was able to kind of sit close to that pace and you know, kind of took over in a slow pace, showed a little bit more pace than I think a horse like the 6 did, and I don't know, maybe this is just a case where inside drawn and Dylan's able to get good position, sit on the rail and save a bunch of ground and maybe go wire to wire in this one. I thought this is a horse that's been kind of improving the last couple starts. And yeah, I think the last 2 races absolutely fit in here with the rest of this group. So that's going to be my top pick in this race is the 1 Silvology. I'm going to fade the 2 La Mahana. I mean, like I said, if I want anyone out of that very one, I'm going to go with Beach Bomb, who showed a little bit of kind of versatility, but I think Luis Saez, seeing a slow pace, possibly, I have a lot more faith in him taking advantage of it than someone like Irad. So I'll use the 6 Beach Bomb as a B, but my top pick is going to be Silvology, the 1. Mark, where do you land?
Shockingly, I saw the race very, very similar to you, Josh. I'm against Lamahania. This is an interesting race in the fact that depending on what figures you look at, this race is very, very, very different. If you're somebody who's using, leaning on buyer speed figures, you're very into, Lamahana, Queen Regent, those types of horses. But time form really says Silvology is just as fast as any of those others. Seems, she's won her last 2 and basically won 2 straight since they've stretched her out. And she just seems to kind of be figuring things out. And her form is really good right now. I don't think she needs to take much of a step forward to be, a major player in here. Yes, this is a class test, but you're going to be paid for it, I would imagine. Cause I think, that's probably the right price, that sort of 6 to 1, range on her. I thought Beach Bomb in here was also very interesting. I thought that very one was a good race. And she's got to go a tick farther. I don't think that'll be a problem given what I saw there. So of the shorter priced horses, those were of the short prices. That's she's the short price that I liked more than Lamahania. Interested to see where Caleb landed here, considering he's our resident turf marathon expert.
Yeah, surprisingly, I see this exactly the same way you guys. I like Beach Bomb the best. The cold barn is a little concerning, but the barn was cold 3 weeks ago and still good enough to win. So I'm assuming, I'm choosing to think of it as this horse as half of Grand Motion's wins. So this is the most likely winner of the race, in my opinion. I do like Silvology for all the reasons you guys already mentioned. The stretch out seems to have really made this horse take a big step forward. The only other horse that I'll maybe touch on is the number 4 Sakaya. Yeah. So kind of the other Clement in this race. Admittedly, the last 2 races were pretty poor. You do have to sort of figure out what happened there. Perhaps she just didn't like this really soft track that she found in her last 2. Maybe it was something with the ship. I mean, I'm not sure what happened. But there are some races before that where if you look at some of the companies she kept, specifically that race, 3 back at Deauville, where she lost to Al Hakim by just under 2 lengths. I mean, yes, she was last, but it was a 5-horse field and it was less than a length and 3/4 separating the whole field. Al Hakim's not a tremendous horse, but he's a legitimate horse in Europe, a very useful Group 3 winner, Group 2 here and there. So I think she would be a standout in a race like this. So she's one that I don't know what we're going to get out of her on the barn change and a bit of a layoff. Clement does fairly well with shippers to the U.S. He does fine off of layoffs, and you do get Rosario up for better or worse, but she's one rather that is certainly a tier below, in my opinion, of the Silvology and Beach Bomb, but that I might have as if they're both of my A's, then that might be my lone B or something to that effect. I don't need La Mahana at all, and I'm actually shocked this horse is 8 to 5.
Yeah. Isn't Sakaya the rabbit for Lamahania? Like, isn't that what you're assuming happens here? I didn't know what to make of her, honestly, because I saw the things you did, Caleb. I mean, yeah, she's kind of running in 3rd-tier European tracks. Not none of the big names, no Lachon or any of those kind of places. But I see a lot of notes that led or was kind of front of the pack, and I was just really wondering if she's in here just to keep an honest pace.
I mean, it's possible. I wouldn't say that's impossible for sure. I think there really isn't any speed in this race. I mean, the 6 made the lead last time with a bit of a crafty ride by Saez, but I don't think anybody really saw that trip coming out of that horse. And then beyond that, I mean, Paco is always aggressive, and the 7 is stretching out. Maybe that's a potential leader. But the 5 with Rajiv Mara, I mean, maybe, but like there's not much speed
No.
in here. So this is one of those scenarios where I sort of could see the rabbit actually getting the carrot, so to speak. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was sort of wondering, is it the case for Thace angle?
It could be,
But
the
maybe
case for
Thace
Thace.
gets it done here. So I don't know. Yeah, I saw this. I saw the same way. It's like, okay, I think she's in here just to keep the pace on us, but there's no other pace. So could she get really brave on the front end? Maybe.
Are you
Well,
trying to
there's
make
no
the
world
case for
beaters in here by
Thace?
any stretch.
I just tried to make the case for Thace, kind of. But then I don't know. Thought case was a front. I don't know. I don't know what I was trying to make.
Who's the other Chad Brown, the current Chad Brown rabbit that you hate? Is it White Beam or something?
No, White Beam's
I
a
hate White Beam, but I don't think White Beam is a rabbit.
No.
No, White Beam is a speed monster, but yeah. Wait, how do you hate White Beam? You talked White Beam into the winner's circle last year at Saratoga. I don't know, somehow, and
I mean,
And then I faded White Beam in that
In the-
that Keeneland race where I boxed all the Chad Brown horses. That paid off. Anything else on this race you guys want to talk about?
No.
I'm just trying to discuss Caleb as much as possible before we get to the Pan American.
well, lucky for you because we have another 1.5 mile turf race at Gulfstream.
Yeah, there we go. The Pan American, baby. 1.5 mile turf at Gulfstream. I mean, I don't know. I got nothing creative in this race. Maybe you guys do, except for the fact that I'm fading Irad again, because Irad's on a pace setter, and I don't know. I don't trust him to do the right thing. I don't trust him at all on a front runner. Maybe I don't know. Like maybe there's a world where Dylan gets a little aggressive on Tawny Port and maybe tries to steal this on the front end, but I don't know. I honestly I think between Cash Equity and Far Bridge, I think one of those two wins this race probably 80-90% of the time, and that's all I'm going to need here, and that's all I'm going to use. I don't really have anything creative. They're just the best. They're the best horse. I mean, Farbridge is I think got the best figures here. I guess the question is, do you trust this horse coming off the long layoff? Christoph is actually very good off the long layoff. He's 20% over 90 days, right? Joel has ridden this horse pretty well the last 3 times out. I mean, no one was beating Rebels Romance on the BC turf, and I mean the horse kind of they tried to stay up on the pace a little bit, which is a little different than what this horse wants to do. But this is a horse that can close on a slow pace, and I think is very. I think this is a very good horse. It's a horse that's gotten good into its 4-year-old season. I mean, we saw flashes, right? In the 3-year-old season, and I think we were all kind of waiting for this horse to kind of take over that, like, the turf division a little bit, and I think it took a little while in the 4-year-old season for this horse to kind of really get going. But yeah, I think Farbridge is obviously top pick, but I think Cash Equity's in here with a shot as well. Ran pretty decently last time out, and was was third by 3/4 of a length, was up on a slow pace, and I don't know, maybe this is a horse that needs a little bit more of a pace setup, but this is another horse that's run some good figures that fit in here with the rest of the group, but nothing too creative. I'm 3-4 as A's. Caleb, where did you land?
I don't know. I mean, Capture the Flag is just the lonest of lone speed in this race, with the worst lone speed jockey you could probably ask for, and not even just like I'm being facetious, but not my first choice of a guy who I want on a speed horse, especially coming off of one of the best speed riders in the game with Johnny V. Like, that's such a downgrade in my opinion. So I don't know what to do. I mean, Capture the Flag definitely has the pace advantage. Was life and death to hold off Grand Sonata, who I don't think would be like super highly regarded in this race. I mean, Cash Equity's also just fine in my opinion. So I think the question really comes down to, what do you do with Farbridge? you kind of said, Josh, earlier that like we all knew Farbridge was good and we were kind of waiting for those big races. And like I feel like for me it was almost the opposite. Like I always thought Farbridge was kind of a plotter, and those two races kind of came out of nowhere. So for me, I struggle because his Turf Classic and his Sword Dancer are that's so much better than anything else he's ever run before. And yeah, his Breeders' Cup was fine, I guess. I mean, he was up on the pace, but so was Rebels Romance. So there's not really an excuse for the fact that he backed up the way he did. I don't know. If he runs back to his like late summer form, he's going to be extremely tough. He likes Gulfstream. He likes a mile and a half. It kind of feels like a weird spot for this caliber of a horse to make his comeback, but I just don't know. I don't have a good feel for this race. The only horse I truthfully know that I'm going to use is the number 1 Corruption. 20-1 in the morning line. Give me all of that.
Press the button. Press the button. Do it.
I mean,
Josh.
I like him less that Dylan Davis gets off, actually. I like him significantly less with Castellano up. But what I'll say is we just talked about there's no speed in the race. Castellano, for better or worse, does send horses. You know, he typically does ride aggressive. And on the stretch out from a mile to a mile and a half, this horse found himself right up in the pace and was able to, outduel, I don't know how to say it, Siciliano, put that one away and hold on. Second time going super long with a more aggressive pilot here, inside rail draw. And if Irad's going to grab this 7, I will at 20-1, I will pay to see how far Corruption can take them on a horse that has been improving in every start. Just got a big win here at this distance, loves Gulfstream, and, could be live at a monster price here. So, I mean, for me, Farbridge, don't know what to do with. Cash equity, I just don't need. Capture the Flag, I don't trust Irad. So I'll probably be some combination of 1 and 4. The shortest price, the longest price.
So once again, Caleb and I see a race exactly the same. I think Farbridge is just much the horse to beat in here. I would love Cash Equity if Cash Equity ever actually, got his photo taken. He hasn't won a race since, in 2 years.
Y2K.
Yeah. A horse that loves to hit the trifecta, but just doesn't win races. I mean, Farbridge is just should tower over this field. Likes Gulfstream, likes this trip, all the reasons. And the only other horse I want any part of is Corruption. And just in the fact that this is a horse that keeps getting better, seemed to handle the stretch out really well last time out. And again, does get a little bit more of an aggressive rider who could go to the front end and try to steal this, or at least put the horse in a position where he can win. Yeah, he's getting a class test, but I don't, I think I agree with Caleb's take. I never really thought Farbridge was super talented. I didn't kind of know what to make of him. I always thought he was a bit of a fraud, in all honesty. And so I don't really know how good this field is. So somebody like Corruption at a big price is a bit interesting. And that's all I got.
Jay saying, 1.5 miles on the turf. Just trust the Brisnet pace and speed figures. I don't know, man. The Brisnet pace and speed figures are all over the place in this one. I mean, I guess if you're going to trust that, you got to go with Farbridge. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like, I don't know. I keep looking at Tawny Port. I put a C down on him. We'll see what Dylan does on him. But yeah, I don't know. This is I kind of agree with you, Mark. I think like Tawny Port should win this pretty easily. But
you mean Farbridge?
Or Farbridge, sorry. Should win this race pretty easily, but we have been fooled before.
I think it's one of those races as well that it probably comes down to what the price you get. I mean, if you're going to get that kind of a price on Farbridge, that's almost win bettable, I would say, in that field. But I think he's going to go off at like 2-5. Like, I think that's just a really bad line. And then you can probably find value other places. So it's one of those races you kind of wait and see what the board does, and then you play around with spots.
All right, let's move on to the Ghost Zapper. Grade 3, 1 mile and 16th on the dirt. I'm going to make this really, really simple. Is anyone going to try and beat White Abario here?
God, I so want to, but I can't. There's nobody in here that can beat him.
I mean, if I'm asking why is Farbridge in that grade 3, you really got to ask why is White Barrio in this Grade 3, right? Like, what is he doing here? Like we've seen this movie before. Like he goes off at 2 to 5 in the Mr. Prospector, and he runs second. Like in a race he didn't seem like he should have been in. Like I get the same vibe here. This does not feel like the target whatsoever.
Is there a big race on Derby Day or that Derby weekend they can run him in, and they're trying to get a prep into him now for that?
The Ali Sheba, maybe?
Is it Alice Sheba, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so are they, is this the prep so that they get him a race before the Alice Sheba?
And it's like, I mean, he can probably still win this race with a prep level of effort, but man, 1 to 9, like, goodness gracious. It's a single or toss, obviously. The only horse I'll even speak at briefly is the number 2 Tuscan Sky. And I think that this is a horse that almost is like a sleeper need the lead horse, even though he's not designated as like an E8. If this horse doesn't get the lead, he sucks. But if he gets the lead or, is second by a head or if he's forward in a race, he's pretty good. I mean, if you look at his form, I mean, the 4 races he's been up front, he's got 3 wins and a second. And the races he hasn't been up front, he's got a bunch of, absolute no-shows. I just kind of wonder in a race that doesn't have much speed in here. I mean, maybe the 6 is your speed, but I don't think the 6 is all that fast. I mean, can Dylan get aggressive on this 2, get this horse in the race? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it would require White Barrio probably not showing up a little bit, but Tuscan Sky has 2 efforts on time form that are a 122, which, can beat 3 of the last 4 races White Barrio ran. Obviously with the exception being the Pegasus. But, I do tend to think if White Barrio is fit, he romps. And if he's 90% fit, he probably romps. But just, do you want to take 1 to 9 on a horse that you just don't know what he's doing? It's a bad race. It's better to watch than to bet. I'll probably win bet Tuscan Sky and take my shot. But other than that, I have no interest in this race.
Anything else you guys want to talk about in that race? I think it's pretty open and shut.
I'm surprised you're not at least giving One Sharp Cookie a bit of a look, Josh. It seems like a you kind of horse, horse that's got some speed. It's a Saffy horse. The other Saffy. It seems like that's a Josh Special type of horse. I figured you would make a case for that, so I didn't even talk there.
I mean, I think it's the speed in this race. But I don't know. You got a question like, why is Saffy running this horse? Like, well, he's running a bunch of horses in here, right? I mean, he's got 3 horses in here, right? He's got obviously White Barrio, and then he's got 2 other ones. I mean, maybe we don't even see these 2 run. Maybe he scratches White Barrio. I don't know. If White Barrio wasn't in this race, I think One Sharp Cookie is exactly the type of horse I'm looking at in here, because I think he's your speed, and there's not really a lot of speed signed on here, and White Barrio is not doesn't want to really be on the lead. He wants to sit just off. He wants to target. So I don't know. Maybe that's kind of why the 6 is in here, just to kind of give him a bit of a target to run against. But because this came up very, very light on speed, especially for a race at Gulfstream, right? And normally you get plenty of speed horses entered for that kind of stuff. But Jason, this is the type of race where you take the shortest and longest price. And David Brista makes a good point. He's like, what's the purpose of getting involved in this race if you aren't trying to beat 1 to 9? I don't think there is a reason to get involved in this race.
Agree.
It's part of the middle pick 5. I think we talked about this a little bit on some of the races on the Oak Lawn card. Like, if they're not really part of sequences, I really want to bet. So more than likely, there's no reason to get involved. I think that's a good point. All right, let's move on. That way, Steve can't meme on us for talking too long about a 1-horse race. Gulfstream Park Oaks. Mile and 16th here. We got Oaks points up for grabs. And your morning line favorite is the 4-5G. The Queen's MG is 9-5. 4-1 on Anna's Promise. 5-1 on Cassiar. Double digits on the rest. Mark, where did you land here?
Of course, you wait till I have a mouthful of water. Thanks, Josh. Well played.
No problem.
No, I think I think it's probably a 2-horse race in here for the most part. And obviously I landed the 2 shortest prices. I've had been kind of a fan of Queen's MG for quite a while. Pretty darn cool horse. And then I think 5G also comes into this really good form. I was having a hard time really drawing a line between them. If you believe the speed figures off 5G's last race in that losing effort, probably the horse to beat. But I think they're both pretty close. I was halfway I had a mouthful of water, and the other half was I don't really have a good opinion in this race. I think those are the 2 horses to be. I could go a lot of different ways. I'm happy that this isn't in the late pick 5, and I can, and I can just kind of, watch this race, and take shots other places. To be all in all honesty,
Caleb?
Man, I don't think these are very good horses. I got to be honest with you. I don't. I love the Queen's MG, but she's not going to win the Oaks. I mean, the Gulfstream Park Oaks feels like it came up really poor this year. It kind of feels like that division is good cheers for the taking at this point, depending on when we see the other Cox filly, which Immersive or whatever her name is, come back. How she does, but I mean, I'm just not impressed with any of these runners. I guess at the short prices, I'd slightly prefer 5G. I think she gets the lead in here or very close to it. And I don't see a ton of speed. The Queen MG, I've always been skeptical of her ability to get the distance. She did get it last time in the Devona Dale, which, kind of shocked me. But she also had a perfect trip that day. I mean, saved all the ground, shot up the fence, and just, tracking a slow pace. So I don't know. I mean, I don't love either of them. With 5G, if there's a short price, like I said, talking about the Baffert horse, I think, I think Oaklawn Speed was carrying a lot, on that day. That quiet side 5G Muhima race was 1, 2, 3 the whole way around the track. I don't love quiet side in the, not the Honeybee, the whatever the Oaklawn filly races we covered, the Fantasy. So I don't know. I don't like this race. I have no strong opinions in here. I thought the 7 was maybe a little interesting as you get, the best probably speed rider in the colony on a speed horse. Saya's getting up on Anna's Promise. The horse is 2 for 2 at Gulfstream and has already proven at this distance. She's a little bit slower than others, but she did improve first off the claim. And I think it shows a lot of confidence that David Carlos moves her into a grade 2 in her second start off that claim. And the other horse I kind of looked at was actually the 1, and I recognize she got kind of crushed by 5G 2 back, but she's a horse that's been just stepping forward little bit by little bit each time. And, finally got back around 2 turns last time and responded in a pretty big way with a 6-length win. It's obviously Safi's backyard here, very local connections with, Zayas getting up. He knows the horse was up for both wins actually. So one that certainly needs to improve, but I just don't trust the short prices in here. So I guess I'm kind of the opposite of Mark, is that I don't trust the short prices. I would rather take maybe the second and third choice in here with Anna's Promise and perhaps Paradise City.
I'm gonna split the difference. I really like Anna's Promise. I have her as my B in this race. I think speed is always deadly at Gulfstream Park. And you said it best. Luis Saez is about as good as it gets on the front end. So I love the jockey pairing with this horse. And this is kind of a horse with an upward trend, right? It seems to just get better and better as this horse continues to run. And honestly, that's kind of, when it comes to the 5G and the Queen's MG, I kind of see the Queen's MG as a very consistent horse, right? I don't think, I don't know how much the horse has moved forward since last year. The horse was very good at the end of last year. And I think that the horse from, August of last year obviously good enough to win races now, right? But I didn't really see a huge step forward from 2 to 3, right? Whereas a horse like 5G, I feel like every race has progressively gotten better. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even on time form, I think every figure has gotten better as this
Yeah,
horse
you're
has
right.
run. And that's exactly the type of horse I feel like you want. If you're gonna bet right at a short price, that's the kind of horse that you want to bet. I think this is a horse that it's an improving type, right? Has improved with a little bit of distance. Like I said last time, was probably aided by the track, to Caleb's point. But I mean, oh darn, we're gonna go from a speed favoring track at Oak Lawn, we're gonna go to Gulfstream Park. Like, you know, I think she's gonna run just fine here. So 5G is my top pick. I think the Queen's MG is a very nice horse. But you know, I was I liked the horse last time out, but I guess I was surprised she won by as much as she did, because I mean she won it looked pretty easy, right, and won by open lengths there. Um, and yeah, I've you know not really sure distance wise what this horse is going to want to do, um, but I just don't feel like the Queen's MG has moved forward as much as I would like to see from 2 to 3. Whereas I think a horse like 5G is just consistently getting better. And not to say that, right, I mean eventually the horse is going to hit its ceiling, but um, if the horse even takes a 1 or 2 speed figure point forward, I mean the horse walks in this race, I think. So, yeah, 4 or 5 G, and then I'll use the 7 and his promise as B. Anything else there in this race?
So you did mention these horses that have taken a step forward in every single race that they've ever run. Did you give Paradise City the one a little bit of a look? There's enough speed in here that they could hook up on the front end. Paradise City sits a nice stalking trip, because she'd get first run on the closers, and every single race of her career she's gotten a little bit better. I don't really think. She needs to take another step forward, but last time out, she went up 9 points. She goes up another 9 points, and she's a major player, and she's every bit on time form as fast as a Queen's MG or 5G at a ton bigger price. And with you guys saying you don't think there's any monsters in here, and you're looking for a horse that can get the distance, well, here's one that can get the distance. Definitely, she's done fine at it twice.
The other Safi.
Yeah, the other Safi. Yeah. Well, this is the other Safi, right?
Oh, is it? Yeah, early on's the other Safi.
Well, the Queen's MG is the Safi, and then that would make Paradise City the other, and then
Okay.
early on's the other, right? Okay, just making sure I had it right.
No, it's a good point, Mark.
Just a price that I thought was interesting. So,
anything else on that race, Caleb? You got anything?
No, like I said, I agree with Mark. I think it's the Paradise City and the 7 horse.
All right. And that, oh my goodness, 14 race car. Dude, Steve is going to be happy as a pig in mud.
He's going to be
14 races.
By the 4th race.
That's
Fourth
why
race.
that's why you got the money, right? You're gonna
yes, through inventory for the first 3.
Oh no. I actually thought this was a pretty interesting race, right? Florida Derby. We got 10 horses in here. Sovereignty is your 8-5 favorite. Caleb, how many tickets is Sovereignty going to be on?
All of them.
Stop it.
Yeah, all of them.
Oh my God. No. Oh, I have Sovereignty nowhere, so this will be a little bit interesting, I guess. Yeah, so Sovereignty is 8-5. You get 7-2 on Madacat Road, 5-1 on Tappan Street, 4-1 on Disruptor, double digits on everybody else, including a price I really like. So, I mean, who's gonna go first? Mark, I'll let you go first here. Where did you land?
Geez, Caleb already said it, but yeah, Sovereignty will be on every one of my tickets. So we're going to talk that one right out of the winner's circle. But Sovereignty is seemed to be a horse that I know Caleb talked about him last time out. In that Fountain of Youth, I thought he was a little too slow, but he took a big, really nice step forward from 2 to 3. I think that morning line might be a little aggressive at 8-5, but what's he? He seems to be in pretty good form, and I would imagine second race of a form cycle, he'll probably take another little step forward. So, I think Sovereignty is a really major player in here, especially given the fact that he's going to get enough, or he should get enough pace in this race to really kind of set up his closing kick. I think he probably sets a really similar trip to what he did in that Fountain of Youth. Other horse that I thought was pretty interesting is the last out maiden breaker, first time versus winners here, and that's the 4 Disruptor for Pletcher. I think that last out effort was a really sharp one. Time form really liked that race. And I think he's the horse that's the sort of newer, fresh face that I haven't seen a ton of, that I'm interested in taking a shot at. Has a pedigree that should be able to get this trip. And he's going to be somewhat forwardly placed, but he did show that he can be, he can be a little tactical in that last race. You're not a desperate need the lead type. So a Rad, you don't have to worry about a Rad loose on the lead in a race like this where he tends to screw things up. He can sit just behind somebody like New Equos or someone like that, who probably has to go to the front end. So I thought the 4 Disruptor and the 10 Sovereignty were the most interesting horses. I think I'm somewhat against horses like Madacat Road and Tappan Street, who are both horses that I don't even know how to phrase it, but just not as interesting to me. I don't think there's as much upside with either one of those.
Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, I already tipped my hand, I think, but I think Sovereignty's a single in here for me. I remember talking about the Fountain of Youth on a previous stream, and I said, I want this horse next time. I just don't know what I'm going to get from him off the layoff. It's Bill Mott. We don't know if he's cranked. It didn't seem like there was a lot of speed in the race. And it seems like all of that kind of be damned. And he just took a step forward off the layoff and won anyway. I don't know that there was a ton behind him in that race. I don't know that there's a ton in this race either. And I think he kind of won that race when I didn't think he could. Now being second off the layoff here and getting what should be a more honest pace to run after, I really think that he's a standout in this field, in my opinion. And it's not so much off the strength of his last win in the Fountain of Youth, but going back to the street sense, where he just clobbered Tiztastic, who was your Louisiana Derby winner, and then Sandman, who's your 2-time runner-up at the Oaklawn circuits and one of the second choice in the Arkansas Derby this Saturday. So I just think he's much the best in here. I'm not that worried about the post. I'm not that worried about the pace. Maybe a little worried about the fact that Junior won't be riding. I forget who they announced. Is it Franco?
Manny Franco.
I don't love that, but he's on the best horse and he's wide. All he has to do is, save a little ground and make his run. But yeah, he's a single to me. I don't trust Disruptor. This feels very fast for Pletcher. I mean, debuting in January was a disappointment at 1-2. Comes back and wins at 3-5. Now has to stretch out another 2 furlongs, go around 2 turns. I mean, he may be bred to do it, but I'm just not totally convinced. Horses like Tappan Street. If it wasn't for the fact that Burnham Square stunk so bad next time out, I would like Tappan Street, but that does give me pause. Perhaps, if you can get past that, Tappan Street, is fine. And he probably will be the best prices of the next 3 contenders after Sovereignty, meaning Madacat Road, Disruptor, and then Tappan Street. He might be the one that's like somewhat overlooked given that he hasn't been out in a while and the other 2 are a little more flashy. Madacat Road, I've seen enough of, I think. I just don't think he's very legit. And that's pretty much it. I mean, Sovereignty's a single for me. I could maybe squint real hard and, get the Tappan Street as like a C, but I just don't think I'm going to have anybody besides Sovereignty.
I cannot wait to text your dad that you are singling Manny Franco at 8-5.
Dad is a winter duck disciple. He loves Manny Franco. That is their Jesus.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't want any part of this 10.
Is it because of Manny Franco or is it for other reasons?
90% of it is because of Manny Franco.
What if it was Lozcano?
Oh, if it was Jose Lozcano, then that'd be 100% just because of Jose Lozcano. I agree with Nick. I I agree with Nick. I like Tappan Street a bit. I have Tappan Street as a B right now. I like the fact that they're laying this horse off. Um, Time form, I think, liked the last race quite a bit, but I think you do have to question, like you said, Caleb, like what do we really think of that race because of how bad Burnham Square was that next time out. So yeah, I thought Tappan Street was going to be interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the 5-1 price on him, but I think speed figure wise he does fit. I mean, my top pick in this race is the 8 Manicat Road.
Oh
You
God, that's
know,
disgusting.
Oh,
I
yeah, that
mean,
is just
it's
why?
disgusting, but
Why?
I mean, this is a horse that was in that Rebel. He was basically the only. I'm pretty sure he was the only speed horse that hung on in that race because Cold Battle came from off the pace, Sandman came from off the pace, and those are pretty fast fractions. They went 22 and 2, 45 and 3. Granted, Oaklawn was playing pretty speed favoring, but I think he gets a much easier pace scenario in this case, and I think he might just be good enough to win this race here because of the lighter pace scenario.
He's not
But
going to the
if
front though, right? I mean, you don't think he gets the lead here, do you?
well, I don't think he gets the lead, but I don't think he's going to be on. I don't think he's going to be going 22 and 2
Right.
and right on the lead like he did last time, right? Which I think,
Well, that's Irad
I,
in the lead.
yeah, exactly. But I also think the fact that I think that race was better than it looked because of the pace scenario, right? And I know time formula like that race as well. And yeah, I do think that he is kind of dodging cornucopian a little bit by shipping here, but I I think he needs I think a second or third here gets him in pretty easily. So, but no, I like him in this spot. Um, but you know, you kind of mentioned horses getting the lead, and yeah, like I don't think Manicat Row gets the lead, but I mean, we got an E8 baby. We got a 3 cherry horse. We haven't talked about 3 cherry
There we
horses
go.
in a
There's
while.
The first time.
Um, dude,
I
I'm
know.
telling. Look, like I get last time out in the Fountain of Youth, right? Was on the front end, pretty moderate fractions there, and he ended up getting caught at the end, but was drawn in the 5 post, and you know maybe this is just a horse that is just kind of needs to build up a little bit more. Maybe this is a horse that's going to get a little bit better on the stretch out. Inside drawn speed is always dangerous at Gulfstream Park, and then you look at this work pattern, right? He went 58 and 4 for a bullet, 2 back. He's got that maintenance work last time out. I think he's probably sitting on a good race. I expect a step forward for Neoquos here, and you don't have Irad on the front end. You got a horse. You got a guy who knows his way around Gulfstream, knows how to win on the front end at Gulfstream, and Edgar Zayas. And like, I mean, Irad is on his day the best jockey in the country, and it pains me to say that. But if he's got like the biggest leak in his game is riding dirt horses on the front end. I mean, I just don't think he's comfortable. I don't think he likes to do it. I don't think he's ever comfortable doing it. He
I
not
don't.
to say he doesn't win, but you're gonna say Mark.
I'm saying I don't think you have to say dirt horses. Just riding horses
I
on the
mean,
front end. He is just not good on a speed horse. Period.
yeah. So, it's hard to ever say that a swap from IRAD is an upgrade, but I think in these types of cases when you got need the lead type horse, it is right. And yeah, I think that the switch to Edgar Zayas is a huge one here. So I really like this horse here at Neokos here, 10-1. It's going to be on all my tickets. Probably have a win bet on him as well. Yeah, I like Madacat Road. I think just kind of coming from horse was on the front end last time on a real fast pace and is not going to get that same setup here. So I think you kind of upgrade that race a little bit. And yeah, I'm gonna go back to Tappan Street here. I got him as a B, giving him another run. Lightly raced horse that has got 2 really good races under his belt. And yeah, I think I like the fact that Brad didn't bring him back right away, is giving him a little bit of a break, a little bit of a layoff, and you know, we'll see what it is. I mean, like you said, Caleb, if he runs back to that race, kind of like Burnham Square did, like, yeah, this is going to be, nothing burger. Right, horse is going to run sixth in this race, and just not do anything. But I don't know. I think there is some ability in here, and maybe you have some questions on the distance with the pedigree, right? Into Mischief. I know he's won 2 derbies at this point, but we always think he's a little bit better shorter. And then Distorted Humor on the bottom is absolutely, mile and 16th, mile and 8th max. So maybe you have some questions with this horse stretching out, going even further here, going to mile and 8th, but yeah, I'm going to be against the 10 here. Outside post, short price on a closer at Gulfstream Park. I mean, I just hate, I hate it more and more as I say more words. Manny
You could have just said
Franco.
closer, and it would have been the same, right?
I mean, I could have said Manny. I've taken plenty of closers here, but yeah, David Barista here saying post position speed bias a lot. Let's hope the Sovereignty gets beat and you'll get a better price in the Derby. Jay thinks the 4 is the inside speed. In Disruptor.
Irad's going to do, I think, exactly the same trip he got last time with the 1 going to the front. Just
yeah, exactly how I saw it, Caleb. I think the 1 goes to the front because they have to go, and then a rag can just sit right off. Same trip that Disruptor got last out.
I will say too, if you are, like I said, like I always say this about figures, right? Like I don't really like Brisnet figures. I trust their pace figures more than Caleb does. I know Caleb doesn't really like them, but I like the pace figures fine enough. And that's what I mostly use these for. But like, if I need a number, if I'm going to be like, I'm betting a number, the number for me is always going to be time form. And I'll tell you right now that there is a time form loved that Fountain of Youth race from Nyokos. And it fits in right here with Sovereignty's last out, if I remember correctly. And I'm going off memory.
It's actually 1 point faster.
Yeah.
Neoquos's last out race is actually the fastest race in the field on time form, which is a little funny because he's 10-1, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, like if I'm, like I said, if I'm going to blindly bet a figure, it's always going to be time form. And I mean, there's a lot of times where that works out, especially, I mean, more so on the turf, I think. But yeah, I'm gonna ride it here, and yeah, I really do like this one. 3 cherries, A. Let's make some money here. Anything else on this race?
So, Josh, I'm a little disappointed in you. You didn't make a case for Dragon Call.
There's a horse called Dragon Call. Oh, Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, I mean,
Enter the Dragon.
Everybody's favorite.
I have seen a lot of people, like relatively sharp people, like genuinely
making a legitimate case for him. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, and I looked, and I mean, yeah, Bago ran huge last time the Chronoleum. I mean, I think they talked about sending him to Ascot, I think. But like, I don't know. Like, is this really a dirt horse? I mean, Outwork won the, I think he won the Wood or the, I think he won the Wood. So like, I mean, there's some pedigree there, I guess. But like, man, yeah, get a 30-1 shoot your shot, right? I mean, there's no more.
Yeah, no,
but like, exactly. The amount of people I saw all gravitating towards this horse really surprised me.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. But I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to get there looking at anything he's actually done on the track so far. The one dirt performance was not impressive and came back extremely slow. Needs to take a major step forward on a metric. It's nice to see Dylan getting up, and he should get some pace to run into, which seems to be what he wants to do. But I agree with you. I don't really know what he is at this point. I mean, he's 1 for 7 on turf, so I don't know if he's a turf horse either. But our good friend of the show is a big fan of Dragon Calls, so I figured Josh would have to have this horse on a ticket somewhere.
No, we're not a fan of his Dragon Calls. I think what happens here. Yeah, David's team Josh here. I like to see this. Anytime you mention my name, I will highlight it. I'll keep it up for the whole stream if I need to. So I appreciate it. Anything else on this race? Caleb, how happy are you that you have no plans on Florida Derby Day?
I actually do have plans.
You have plans?
I do. I have a friend, an old a friend I grew up with coming to visit for the weekend.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like, a chill weekend, but we might go fishing or something like that around here. But Yeah, so I'll be probably like halfway around watching races on my phone, but probably not home.
Okay. Mark, you skiing?
Weather does not look good this weekend. Ski school's closed for the year, and they sent the announcement out today, and we're calling for rain on Sunday. So Saturday doesn't look good either. So I don't know. I might take a few runs early Saturday, come home, and I was kind of itching to hop in a tournament, so I might try to find something that maybe a BCBC feeder or a qualifier. And I also know there's a couple of those Twin Spires live money tournaments. There's one that targets the Oaklawn card, and that's probably something like that. I think it's an $800 buy-in, 400 in live money, 400 prize pool. Those kind of things are really fun on these days because you set a fixed cost for the day. Okay, I'm going to spend this. Don't plan on firing anything else. And they have some nice prizes. So you figure that something like that might be fun.
And they're cool because they're usually single track, and they have tracks you usually can't get on Horse 20s or wherever else, like Oaklawn.
Exactly, like Oaklawn. Yep.
Yeah, they have. They actually have some really, really cool tournaments coming up. They have the $800 Bluegrass tournament coming up April 5th, right? They got the $800 Arkansas Derby tournament. Then obviously you can play the Grade 1 Gamble through Twin Spires now, and they have the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge coming up. So, and they have a bunch of feeders for it. I was actually looking to see. I was thinking the same thing, Mark. I was like, I might play in the Turfway feeder tomorrow night.
Okay.
For the Bluegrass. But yeah, it looks like for Arkansas Derby, there's not a ton of feeders in for right now. But yeah, Nick's saying, "Come lose to me, Mark." So he's calling you out there.
Let's go.
Fortnite is fun. He likes cool intentions at a price in the Florida Derby. I don't think we really talked about that horse. Is a 2-horse. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna hit the JJ Simple arm.
I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, how
even
can
Mark could make a case for that horse?
Even Mark could make a case for it. Oh no. Oh man. But yeah, it's going to do it for us. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at 2 Turns. Caleb is at Caleb WVU. Episode of Drank Champagne came out earlier this morning. Check that out on our YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Obviously, we'll be doing You've Got to Be Shot Tinning Me tomorrow night. So that'll get posted sometime tomorrow night for the Saturday night Shot Tin card. So, and then, yeah, we will be streaming again next week, getting some more preps, start talking about Keeneland, the meet that everybody's excited for and then is immediately mad after it starts. Why were we so excited for this?
Yeah. By about the third race, we're all completely done with it and ready to go on to something else.
After Wesley Ward's won his second race, we're like, what the hell were we thinking? All right, let's make some money, guys. Have a good weekend. Thank you.